I'm going to say something that might surprise you coming from a real estate agent. Not every agent out there is looking out for your best interests. And some of the things you say to your agent, things that seem completely harmless, can actually work against you. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through exactly what you should never say to your agent when you're getting ready to sell your home in Vaughan or the GTA. My name is Ali. Welcome back to the channel. I'm a real estate broker here in the city of Vaughan, and every year I help families buy, sell, and rent and move up in this market. I track the trends, watch what buyers and sellers are actually doing, and bring that to you as honest advice in these videos. If you find it useful, like and subscribe and pass it along to someone else who may need it. And if you are ready to make a move, you can book a call with me. It's the first link down in the description. The first thing you should never say to your agent is that you're not in a hurry to sell. I completely understand why you would say it. You don't want to feel pressured. You don't want to come across as desperate and risk leaving money on the table. But here's what actually happens when you say that. The agent stops prioritizing you. If they don't think you're serious about selling, you move to the bottom of the pile. Your marketing gets less attention. Your listing doesn't get the focus it deserves compared to the other clients they believe are serious about selling. And here's something most sellers don't think about. If the agent doesn't think they're serious, they're also not going to have the tough conversations with you about price adjustments and when they're needed. They'll just let the listing sit. They won't push. They won't advise, because in their mind, you're not in a hurry anyway. And if that message gets back to a buyer, and they can, that buyer will sit back and wait until you drop your price before they make an offer. You end up sitting on the market longer than you need to, not because the demand isn't there, but because you signal that you weren't serious. So even if you generally aren't in a rush, keep that to yourself. Let your agent work on your property with urgency on your behalf. The second thing you should never tell your agent is what you think your home is worth before they present the numbers to you. Now, and this is important, do your own research first. Look at what the comparable homes in the area have actually sold for. Not listed for, but actually sold for. How long did they sit on the market for? What was the final sale price relative to their asking price? Walk into that conversation educated, but keep your number to yourself until the agent has presented theirs. And here's why. An unethical agent will take whatever number you give them and build a report around it. If your number is lower than market value, they'll use it to get your home sold fast, which is great for their timeline, but not yours. If your number is higher than market value, then they'll tell you what you want to hear to win the listing. The agent comes in with an inflated number, a number they know isn't supportable because they want the business. And the intention is to come back to you after you've signed and pressure you into price reductions. And we call that in the industry buying the listing. And here's something specific to watch out for. If an agent comes in with a number that's significantly higher than what you've researched, don't get excited and just run with it. Slow down. Ask them to walk you through exactly how they got to that number. Because sometimes agents will use comparable sales from completely different neighborhoods, areas with higher market values that aren't actually applicable to your home. If they can't clearly justify the number with relevant local data, that's a red flag. Wait, see what they say, then have the conversation. Third, always interview more than one agent, and don't tell any of them that they're the only one. Even if you already have someone in mind, even if a trusted friend referred them to you and you're almost certain that they're the right agent, interview at least 2 or 3 agents before you decide. Here's what changes when an agent knows they're competing for your business. They bring their best presentation. They sharpen their pricing analysis. They show exactly what they're going to do and why in order to earn your business. When they think the listing is already theirs, the urgency disappears. You don't have to tell them who else you're interviewing, but let them know that you are interviewing others and that you'll be in touch after you've reviewed all of the presentations. That sentence alone changes everything about how seriously they take the appointment. And one more thing on this. Just because an agent was great when they helped you buy doesn't automatically mean that they're the right agent to help you sell. Buying and selling are generally different skill sets. An agent who is fantastic at finding homes for buyers, negotiating on the buy side, and understanding what a buyer needs may not have the same depth of experience when it comes to marketing a property, pricing it strategically, and negotiating for the sellers. So even if you had a great experience buying with someone, do your due diligence before automatically handing them the listing. This one is important, and I don't think enough people ask about it. Never ask your agent if it's a good time to sell, because the answer will almost always be yes. There's always buyers out there, the values are always doing something, and the sign can always go on the yard. But that's not honest advice. That's an agent who just wants the commission. What you should be asking instead is it a good time for me to sell? Because the right answer depends entirely on your specific situation. Your equity position, your timeline, where you're going next, what the move up math looks like, given where prices are today, whether the gap between what you'll sell for and what you'll buy for actually works in your favor right now. A good agent, an honest agent, won't answer that question until they fully understand your picture. They'll ask questions first. They'll want to know your circumstances before they give you a recommendation. If an agent tells you it's a great time to sell before they've asked you any of those questions or any single question at all about your situation, that's a red flag. You can ask the question to test them, but don't rely on the answer until that agent knows your full picture and can give you honest and informed guidance. Fifth, don't hand the agent the listing before they've finished their presentation. I know this sounds counterintuitive. You like them, you trust them, everything they've said so far makes sense, you're comfortable, and you're ready to move forward. So why wait? But you need to stop yourself. Let them finish first. Because if you assume they're going to do something and they never actually committed to that, that's a problem, and it's one you won't be able to hold them accountable for. Everything an agent promises you needs to make it onto the listing agreement. Professional photography and videography, staging, marketing plan, open houses, the timeline, all of it. If it's not in writing, it doesn't exist. And once you've gone through the full presentation, you don't need to sign anything that day. You can take the time to go home, review what they've presented, and compare it against your own research. If the pricing matches, then great, you have confirmation. If it doesn't match, and it doesn't have to really, ask them to walk you through exactly how they arrived at those numbers. That's what you're hiring them for. Their market knowledge, their data, and their ability to explain and justify their approach. A good agent will welcome that conversation. And look at their other listings that they've sold. How did those properties sell? How long did they sit for on the market? Did they sell close to the asking price? That track record tells you a lot more than a polished presentation ever will. This one is probably the most practical thing I can tell you going into the process. In Ontario, commission is negotiable. You typically see it anywhere range between 5 to 6% depending on the services offered. But that is not a fixed number, and it's not set in stone. It is a conversation. Understand what you're agreeing to and understand what you're getting for that commission. And make sure the level of service, the marketing commitment, and the agent track record justify whatever number ends up on that agreement. When it comes to the listing agreement itself, it'll typically be offered anywhere between 3 to 6 months. In hotter markets like we experienced in 2021 and 2022, you can get away with a 3-month listing because more than likely that property will sell within days, if not a week. In slower markets like we're experiencing right now, a 6-month listing may be necessary, and perhaps even more. It depends on the property and the location, and the detail that you need to look for here, the data point, is the average days on market it takes to sell a property. That will ultimately guide you into how many months of a listing agreement you should sign. My honest advice is to not sign anything for over 6 months right out of the gate. I still do think that in the city of Vaughan and the GTA, 3 months is a reasonable amount of time. It gives the agent enough time to properly market your home, generate interest, and get the property sold. But it also keeps them accountable. If things aren't working, if the communication has perhaps fallen off, if the marketing isn't what was promised, if you're not getting the activity and feedback you were told to expect, you're not locked into a half-year agreement. You have options. You are the homeowner and you are the one making the decisions here. So don't let anyone rush you into signing something longer than you're actually comfortable with. And if an agent tells you 6 months is their only option, that's worth pausing on. And the last one, and this might be the most important of all, never tell your agent up front what the lowest number you'll accept is. I understand why people do this. Sometimes there's a financial need, a number you need to hit in order to make the next move work. But here's what happens when you share that number too early. An unethical agent now has a ceiling to work with instead of a floor. They stop negotiating hard for you because they already know what you'll settle for. There's no incentive to fight for those extra dollars above the number. But here's the part most sellers don't think about. It can also affect how the agent presses your home to begin with. If they know you'll be happy with a certain number, they may list lower in order to generate quick interest and get the deal done faster. They'll tell you that they're pricing strategically to attract buyers, but really they're pricing to close fast because they know your bottom price. Now, things do change when you're deep in a real negotiation, going back and forth with a buyer, and you have a genuine trust built with your agent through that process. That's the right time to have that conversation. When the stakes are real and you need them to know exactly where you stand so they can protect your position. But not up front, not before that trust is earned, because that price, that data is what it is. And buyers, if they find out, which they possibly can, are going to determine what your home is worth. A good agent's job is to fight for every dollar above that number, not to settle at the floor the moment things get uncomfortable. Look, I do want to be clear about something before I wrap up. There are a lot of generally great agents in Vaughan and the GTA who work hard, who are ethical, and who truly look out for their clients' best interests. This video isn't about assuming the worst of every agent you meet. It's about going in with your eyes open. Because the more you understand how this process actually works, the better the outcome you're going to get, regardless of which agent you ultimately work with. The families I work with who come in the most prepared, the most informed, consistently have the smoothest transactions and the best results. And honestly, that's true whether they work with me or anybody else. You knowing this stuff is good for everybody. And look, a lot of sellers make these mistakes. You're not alone if you've done some of these already, but knowing what to avoid puts you in a much stronger position before you ever sign anything. If you're a family in Vaughan thinking about selling and you want a straight, honest conversation about what your home is actually worth and what the process looks like, book a call with me. The link is down in the description. No pressure, no pitch, just an honest look at your specific situation so you can make the right call for you and your family. I hope this gave you a much clearer picture of what to watch out for when you're getting ready to sell. If it did, share it with another family you know who's going through this, because most people walk into this process without knowing any of it. And the ones who do know always come out better on the other side. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. My name is Ali, and I help Vaughan families make the right move.